شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. Tonight is the eve of the 15th of the holy month of Ramadan. Tonight is a very special night. It's a very holy night. We have narrations that 3 nights of the year are especially sacred and holy, and that special attention should be given to these nights. The mid of Rajab, the mid of Sha'ban, and the mid of Ramadan. Very special nights. Very special months. And they fall in the middle of these 3 months. There's special a'mal for mid Ramadan. There's special prayers. There's a special ziyarah from Imam Hussein alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam. Wherever you are, send your salutations and your salam to your Imam, to Abi Abdullah al-Hussein for tonight. His ziyarah is recommended. And one of the things that makes the mid of Ramadan even more special is the birthday, the blessed birthday of the first grandson to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Tonight, on the mid of Ramadan, we celebrate the birth of Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. He was born on the 15th of Ramadan. The first fruit of the tree that was planted by Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra. When Nubuwwah meets Imamah, or when Nubuwwah met Imamah, it was in Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. Fatima al-Zahra represents Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, the messenger. Amir al-Mu'mineen represents Imamah, the Imam. Imam al-Hassan is the fruit of this blessed marriage between Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra alayhim afdalu salatu wassalam. When Imam al-Hassan was born, news reached Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He came to see Imam al-Hassan. He said the adhan in his right ear and the iqamah in his left ear. He saw his grandchild, his first grandchild. He was so happy. Rasulullah did not have boys of his own. So he asked, "Give me my son." There were some that were upset with this. Some of the wives of Rasulullah, they were upset to hear these words. They were hoping that Rasulullah would say this about them. "Give me my son from them." But they didn't have sons. Allah decided to give male heirs to Rasulullah through his daughter Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. He was wrapped in a yellow cloth. Rasulullah said, "No, change this and make it white." And then he asked Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Imam Ali, that, "Have you named your son?" He said, "No, Ya Rasulullah. How can I name him before you?" that would be disrespectful to you, Ya Rasulullah. Rasulullah said, and how can I name him before my Lord? Allah will choose. Allah chooses a name for our grandson. Jibreel came down. The hadith says that Jibreel congratulated Rasulullah on the birth of his first grandchild, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, Allah says, Aliyyum minka kaharun li Musa. Ali to you is like Aaron was to Moses, a successor. Harun was a successor to Musa. Ali ibn Abi Talib is the successor to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amir al-Mu'mineen, as we mentioned a few nights ago, is the Aaron of this ummah, of this nation. So name his son based on the name of Harun's eldest son. Shubbar. Shubbar. Shabiran wa Shubbar. Name the grandchildren, your grandchildren from Ali ibn Abi Talib based on the names of the children of Harun. Shabiran wa Shubbar. Shubbar for Imam al-Hassan. Shubayr for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He said, but what does it mean in Arabic? Shubbar and Shabir are in a different language, in Hebrew perhaps. What do they translate out in Arabic? He said, al-Hassan wal-Hussein. Hassan wa Hussein. So Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam named his children after the children of Harun alayhi salam, but in Arabic. He named him al-Hassan. Al-Hassan means the all good, the all beautiful, the beautiful. Al-Hassan, the good. And in fact, and indeed, Imam al-Hassan resembled his name in his character, in his qualities, in his attributes, in all of his qualities. Throughout his life, Imam al-Hassan implemented and practiced his name. Indeed, he was Al-Hassan in everything. He was the all good, the beautiful, in everything that he did. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam grew up in this household. A mother like Fatimah al-Zahra, a father like Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, a grandfather like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. What sort of upbringing would you expect from such a grandchild? Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam says, one night I was a child, I woke up and I saw my mother Fatima praying Salat al-Layl, worshipping, praying in the middle of the night. He said, I saw her praying, and then she would pray for others, for family, for friends, for neighbors, but she wouldn't pray for herself. He said, I would hear names being mentioned by her. She would pray for others, but not for herself. He says, until she finished her salah, I told her, my mother, I saw you praying for everyone, but you did not pray for yourself. She said, Bunay, al-jar thumma ad-dar. This became a saying, an expression, that your neighbor and then your house. Meaning, let's think of others and then we think of ourselves. And we have narrations that say, he who prays for 40 mu'mineen, pray for anything. Pray for their forgiveness, for their long life, for their health, for their wealth, pray for their offspring. Pray for 40 mu'mineen, Allah will say, you shall have like what you asked for them, without praying for yourself. Allah will say, I will give you what you asked for others. Some of us are greedy, not just in money. We're stingy, not just in money, even with our dua. We're not willing to say dua for others. What will it cost you? What will it cost you to pray for others? Whatever you ask for yourself, ask for others. Allah is all generous. He has nothing to lose, and you have nothing to lose. Allah is all generous. The same way He gives you, He could give to others. The same way He gives He can give others, he can give you. Ya bunay al-jar thumma ad-dar. So this is one scene from the childhood of Imam al-Hassan. Another scene is the scene when he and his brother Imam al-Hussein were ill, and their parents, they made a nadhr, a vow to fast for 3 days if Allah cures their children. And indeed they were cured, so they fasted for 3 days. On the first day that they were fasting, a poor person came and knocked the door. Fatima Zahra collects. What did they have on their dinner table? Is it like our dinner tables these days of Ramadan, when we cook all kinds of food, and during iftar we could only eat a bit. As soon as we eat, we become full. But look at our dinner tables, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. While there's people that are starving, while there's people that only have maybe dates to break their fast. What did Fatima Zahra have on her dinner table? A couple of loaves of bread. She collected them all and she gave it away to that poor person. And they broke their fast on water. The second day, an orphan came and she did the same. A third day, a prisoner of war came and she collected the loaves of bread and gave it all away. Allah revealed this. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. We give you, they didn't give much. You might say, the Ahl al-Bayt, Fatima Zahra, the children, they didn't sacrifice much. It's not about what they sacrificed. It's about how they did it, with what intention they did it. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. We give you for the sake of Allah. It's about the intention. It's not about the act. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam donated a ring in the middle of Salah. Some say that ring had a lot of value. I doubt this, because Amir al-Mu'mineen would not wear an expensive ring. He wore it because it's thawab. It's recommended to wear a ring in your right hand. It's not about its monetary value. It's about the intention. Allah reveals an entire chapter, Surah Al-Insan, regarding this incident. The fasting of 3 days and donating of bread. It's just bread, but it's the intention. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We give you for the sake of Allah. We don't need from you a reward, nor a thank you. We don't even expect a thank you. وَلَا شُكُورًا. We don't need you to thank us. This is another scene. Another scene from the childhood of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, when he and his brother Imam Hussein went to the mosque and they saw an old man performing wudu. But his wudu was wrong. He wasn't performing his wudu correctly. So they decided to correct his wudu. But how? He's an old man and they are children. How can children correct the wudu of an elderly man without offending him? So they thought of a way. Al-Imam al-Hassan came to the old man and he said, Ya Am, my uncle, can you please be the judge between me and my brother? We want to perform our wudu. If you can tell us who is performing his wudu correctly and who is not performing his wudu correctly, can you be the judge? He said yes. They performed their wudu and their wudu was exactly the same. They both performed the same exact wudu. The man got the point. He got the hint. He said, your wudu is correct. Both of your wudu is correct. It is the wudu of your uncle that is incorrect. And he thanked them. What a beautiful way to correct people's mistakes, with all manners, with akhlaq. Some people, they mean well. When they see a mistake, when they see someone not praying well, or when they see, for example, a young female who hasn't worn her hijab properly, or she has makeup, or her hair is showing, they come and they yell and they shout and they offend the other side. Instead of teaching them, they offend them. And what happens is that person runs away. They run away from religion, or they run away from Islam, or they run away from the mosque, And what they wanted, the person who yelled or did this, what they wanted doesn't happen. Instead, if we want to teach others, let's do it kindly. Let's do it softly. The way that Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein taught the old man how to perform wudu. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. Call unto the path of your Lord with wisdom and with admonishment. Admonishment means be kind, be soft. Don't be harsh with people, even when you call them to Islam. Let's attract people to Islam. Let's not let people run away from Islam. Allah tells Musa and Harun, اذهبا إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقولا له قولا لينا. Is there anyone worse than Fir'aun, who claimed to be the God of all gods? Yet when he sends Musa and Fir'aun, when he sends Musa and Harun, he says, speak to him softly. قولا له قولا لينا. Layyin is something that is soft. Speak to him softly. Speak to him gently. Don't curse and be harsh and yell and shout and use foul language. Another scene we see from the childhood of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam is when Rasulullah went to meet the Christians of Najran, Nasara Najran, when they held their Mubahila. And there's a day in Dhul Hijjah that we celebrate Eid al-Mubahila. فإن حاجوك من بعد ما جاءك من العلم فقل تعالوا ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين. Allah tells Rasulullah that if you insist on your opinion and you don't believe me, then let's perform a mubahila. Bring your children and we'll bring our children. Bring your women and we'll bring our women. Bring yourselves and we'll bring ourselves. And then we'll perform mubahila. All scholars, Sunni and Shia, even all Mufassirin, Sunni Mufassirin, say that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih, he took with him al-Hassan wal-Hussein, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatima al-Zahra. أبناءنا وأبناءكم, he took al-Hassan wal-Hussein, our children. That means al-Hassan wal-Hussein are the children of Rasulullah. وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ, Rasulullah took Fatima al-Zahra. Bring your women and our women. Rasulullah only took Fatima. He didn't take anyone else. He didn't take any of his wives. وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ, and let's bring ourselves. Rasulullah brought Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib is the self of Rasulullah. Is the self of Rasulullah. Is the equivalent of Rasulullah. Except he's not a prophet and he's not a messenger. When the Christians of Najran, they saw the five infallibles, Rasulullah, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatima al-Zahra, al-Hassan wal-Hussein, their leader said, I see faces that if this man, meaning Rasulullah, he were to ask Allah to bring his wrath for their sake, these mountains will be wiped away. So they refused to perform Mubahila. This is another scene from the childhood of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. Another scene was the death of Rasulullah. A tragedy upon the hearts of his grandchildren, al-Hassan wal-Hussein. Rasulullah loved his grandchildren immensely. And he would always say, al-Hassan wal-Hussein imaman, qama aw qa'ada. They are two imams, whether they rise to power or they don't. They're imams. Al-Hassan wal-Hussein sayyidai shababi ahl al-Jannah. They are the masters of the youth of paradise. These are hadith are in all books, in Sunni books of hadith and tafsir. Rasulullah showed immense love for Imam al-Hassan and immense love for Imam al-Hussein. The departure of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a major tragedy upon the hearts of his grandchildren because he loved them immensely. He loved them immensely, and it was the beginning of the rest of the tragedies. Starting from the death of Rasulullah, the tragedies upon Ahlul Bayt began. On the same day, the house of Rasulullah, the house of Fatimah Zahra was attacked. That's another scene from the childhood of Imam al-Hassan. Imam al-Hassan had to witness this brutality, the savageness of the attack on the house of his mother and father, the way his mother was abused, physically abused, the way his father was dragged in ropes and taken to the mosque to give allegiance by force. He saw what happened to his mother Fatima. He saw who hit his mother Fatima. And he remembered their names, and he told them in the future, when he grew up, he told them, you are the ones that abused my mother Fatima alayhi salam. So this was a horrific scene. This was a horrific experience for Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein to witness and to experience. They saw the oppression that took place against their father, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen sat for 25 years. He was sidelined. He was marginalized. The Khilafah was taken from him for over 25 years. Until Amir al-Mu'mineen, finally they came to him. After the death of Uthman, they came to Amir al-Mu'mineen and they gave him the Khilafah. But after what? After corruption had spread, after so much injustice has been made, after so many mistakes had been made. And that is why Amir al-Mu'mineen for 5 years, or less than 5 years, he had to deal with civil wars. He was given a destruction. He inherited a destroyed ummah, an ummah full of problems, full of corruption. Yet Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam stood by the side of his father Amir al-Mu'mineen. He was the best helper to his father Amir al-Mu'mineen, loyal servant, obedient son to his father Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. We see some of the scenes in this period of the life of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. For example, in Siffin, Imam al-Hassan was a commander. A commander in the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Some, unfortunately, they give the image that Imam al-Hassan was weak or he lacked courage. Absolutely not. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was very courageous, to the point that in the battle of Siffin and in the battle of Jamal, Amir al-Mu'mineen feared for the life of Imam al-Hassan. He would say that, be careful, watch over my son, because when he would enter the battlefield, he would not look behind. He did not fear the enemy. He would enter the battlefield without looking behind. Amir al-Mu'mineen feared for his life. In the battle of the Jamal, it was Imam al-Hassan who led the battle for Amir al-Mu'mineen. He was in the middle of the battlefield, and it was he who brought down the camel that had become a symbol for the opposing team that opposed Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He cut off the camel's legs, he brought it down, and there those who fought Amir al-Mu'mineen in Ma'rakat al-Jamal, in the battle of the camel, they lost. Imam al-Hassan had a leading role in Siffin and in Nahrawan and in al-Jamal. In all of the wars that were unjustly fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen. They were imposed against Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen did not want to fight. Not in Siffin, not in Nahrawan, and not in al-Jamal. Amir al-Mu'mineen was forced because of oppressive groups. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam had a leading role until finally the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Amir al-Mu'mineen passes on the torch to Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. On his deathbed, he says to him his famous will that inshallah we shall examine and look over when we reach the nights of the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Amir al-Mu'mineen was hit by Ibn Muljam. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was told by Amir al-Mu'mineen that if you wish to forgive my executioner, you may forgive him. But if you wish to seek revenge, then a hit for a hit. He hit me once, you can only hit him once. And indeed, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam executed Ibn Muljam for the execution of Amir al-Mu'mineen. A hit for a hit. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam became the Imam. Officially, of course, spiritually, we believe in his Imamah, even if others don't recognize him as the Imam. And he was recognized by others, meaning by the other school of thought, by all Muslims as the official Khalifa, the Khalifa of the Muslims. But what happened? Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam came to Khilafah at a time when his army had fell apart and Muawiyah was buying his soldiers. He was buying the commanders of the army of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. He would send them money. One of those army commanders was Ubaydullah ibn al-Abbas, the cousin of Imam al-Hassan, the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the son of al-Abbas, the uncle of Rasulullah, his son Ubaydullah. He was one of the army generals of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. Muawiyah sent him 500,000 dirhams. 500,000. And he promised him another 500,000 so that he pulls away from the army. And indeed, he pulled out of the army and he took with him 200 of his men, of his fighters. Other generals from the army of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, they were bought off one by one. Muawiyah had bought off the army generals of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. Imam al-Hassan was betrayed. He had no army. His army would lose against Muawiyah. Muawiyah's army was well equipped and well prepared. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, one day he was in his tent. He was sitting on his prayer mat, ready to pray, wearing his turban, and he was ambushed by his own followers. By his own followers, not by the army of Muawiyah. He was ambushed. He was beaten. They stripped him of his turban. They stripped him of his prayer mat. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was taken by some of his close associates. He was taken to a safe place. In that place, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was attacked by one of his own. And he was stabbed in his thigh by a dagger. Imagine. Thus, Imam al-Hassan did not have an army. He didn't have sincere followers, unfortunately. He was betrayed the same way that his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, was betrayed. He had to accept the truce, the peace treaty with Muawiyah. Imam al-Hassan did not want to accept this truce and peace treaty, but he had no other solution. He had to abdicate, so to speak, the political khilafah. This doesn't mean that Imam al-Hassan was no longer an imam. Imam al-Hassan remains an imam. He remains the imam. But the khilafah, the political power, he had to abdicate because he was forced. So he had a peace treaty. And it was Muawiyah who initiated. He sent Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam a blank piece of paper with his signature. Meaning, give me the khilafah and set any condition that you want, I will accept. Look at how Muawiyah was so desperate for power. So desperate for power. That set any condition that you want, and here's my signature, and I will accept. Of course, Muawiyah cannot be trusted. Muawiyah was deceitful. He was known for his deceit and his treachery. He was known for his wit. Very witty. But no one knew that he was he would go back against his conditions, except Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. Imam al-Hassan wanted to expose him in front of everyone that this person does not stick true to his word. Among the conditions is that the money of Kufa remains in Kufa. Lots of conditions, and among the conditions that after the death of Muawiyah, Khilafah comes back to Bani Hashim, comes back to Imam al-Hassan, if alive, and if not, to his brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Muawiyah accepted all the conditions. A few months later, as soon as they finished, Muawiyah grabs a peace treaty and he throws it on the ground and he begins to step on it. And he appoints his son Yazid as the Khalifa after him, as his heir to the throne. Muawiyah never wanted to respect the peace treaty from day one. And Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam knew this. But he wanted to show people what a con, what a scam this is. What a deceitful person Muawiyah is. Muawiyah was a hypocrite. He pretended to observe the laws of Islam. He pretended to be a righteous Khalifa, but deep down inside, this meant nothing to him. But Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam wanted to observe unity. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam wanted to avoid fitna. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam wanted to avoid bloodshed. He wanted to avoid massacres. In addition, there were assassinations. From Muawiyah's side, Imam al-Hassan's soldiers, close associates, were being assassinated. So among the peace treaty is that the assassinations end. And this is what caused Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam to accept the peace treaty. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam had wonderful qualities. His worship, his courage, his bravery, his generosity, his patience, his tolerance. As for his generosity, Imam al-Hassan is known for his generosity. A man came to Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. He came to Medina. He asked, who is the most generous person in Medina? They told him, Al-Hassan is one, and there's a couple of others. He said, let me test their generosity. He went to these three individuals, one of them Imam Al-Hassan, and asked for money. Imam Al-Hassan gave him the most. Imam Al-Hassan had a house open to all, open to everyone. Everyone was welcome. Anyone who would come to Imam Al-Hassan, anyone who would come to Medina was welcome by Imam Al-Hassan. He would sit with the poor and eat with them. Very humble. He would sit with his servants and eat with them, even if it was dry bread. Anyone who would invite him, he would accept people's invitations. This is an Islamic quality, to accept the invitation of a believer. When someone invites you for iftar, for food, for coffee, for anything, don't say no to a mu'min. Honor the mu'min by accepting their invitation. Imam al-Hassan would accept people's invitations, and then he would invite them to his house. Imam al-Hassan was known for his generosity. He was known to be the most generous person in Medina. Known for his giving, for his generosity. Kareem wa Ahlul Bayt. The all generous from the family of Rasulullah. He was known for his worship. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was known for his worship. When he would stand for salah, his face would become pale, it would become yellow, he would begin shivering. They would ask him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, what's wrong with you? He said, أَتَدْرُونَ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ مَنْ أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَقِفْ. Do you know who I'm about to stand in front of? أَقِفُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ جَبَّارِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. I'm about to stand in front of the Creator and the sole ruler of the earth and the skies. I'm about to stand and speak with him. Known for his worship, known for his tolerance, known for his patience. A man came from Sham. Sham, that means from Syria, from that area, Bilad al-Sham, where Muawiyah ruled. Those places were full of propaganda against Ahl al-Bayt, against Bani Hashim. Anyhow, a man came from Sham to Medina. He saw Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. He saw Imam al-Hassan was known for his, his not just his beauty, but everyone who sees him is awestruck. You're taken by his, not just his beauty, but his demeanor. Some people, when they didn't have the audacity to speak to him. They're taken by his, his presence. Let me say this, and then I go back to that story. Imam al-Hassan, sometimes he would sit at his doorstep. People would refuse to pass the street out of shyness, out of embarrassment. They couldn't pass in front of his house. They were too shy to pass in front of his house because he was sitting. So a man sees from Bilad al-Sham, he comes to the Prophet's mosque in Medina. He sees Imam al-Hassan. He asks, who is this? They told him, this is al-Hassan ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, this is al-Hassan, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. In Sham, they would curse these our Imams, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein, Fatima al-Zahra. So the people of Sham were used to hearing these names cursed. So they had a negative image. When Amir al-Mu'mineen was killed in the state of Salah, when Ibn Muljam strikes the head of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Salah, news reached Sham. They said, Ali ibn Abi Talib would pray? When did he pray? Look at what propaganda does against Amir al-Mu'mineen and his family. So this man, he came to Imam al-Hassan and he began to curse him in his face. Imam al-Hassan put his head down. The man kept on cursing. When he finished, Imam al-Hassan said, are you done? Okay. Now, perhaps you're a visitor. Perhaps you're not from here. Perhaps you need a place to stay. Perhaps you're hungry. Perhaps you need money. Come to our house. We have a big house. We have food. We have drinks. We would love to serve you. We'd love to have guests. Come visit us. The man raised his head, and he said, Allahu a'lamu haythu yaj'alu rasalata. Allah knows better where to keep his message, where to put imamah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Muhammad al-Hassan al-Mushtaba wa ala akhika سيد الشهداء. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان.
Karbala is the home to Imam Hussein alayhi salam as well as Imam Hussein TV. Millions come to Karbala every year and we bring Karbala to millions. Imam Hussein Media Group is a crowd-funded project that does not generate any sales or profits. That's right, we do not make any money or profits or solely rely on your generous donations to help bring you Karbala. Imam Hussein Media Group is looking for flag bearers, donors and supporters to help. We are looking for 1,000 people to donate just £14 a month in honour of the 14 infallibles. With the help of our 1,000 partners, Imam Hussein TV3 can maintain its monthly costs as well as continuing to spread this sacred message. So many of our viewers depend on us in order to learn, understand and connect with the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. It is the duty of everyone to facilitate and finance Imam Hussein alayhi salam to enter everyone's home. Become a partner now by going on www.imamhussein3.tv/donate. Or alternatively call us or WhatsApp us on +44 939 917 163 or +964 774 067 1837. Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان. والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان. والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. رب المشرقين ورب المغربين. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يسأله